She filed to lock him away. Andrew Walsh, 70, sat at his kitchen table, the folded court summons trembling in his hands. He'd spent 40 years as a psychiatrist. He never imagined seeing his own name written after the words alleged mental incompetence. The petitioner was Karen Whitfield, his wife's sister, the woman who had resented him since 1998. Emergency petition for conservatorship of the person and estate of Andrew James Walsh.
She's going to take everything. The house, the trust, my life.
The accusations twisted his quiet hobbies. Coin collecting became hoarding. Weekly chess matches became delusional pattern-seeking. She had been documenting him for months. Every phone call, every purchase, every harmless routine, and turning them into ammunition.
All those years of biting her tongue at family dinners. And now this.
Andrew set the summons down and pressed his palms flat against the table. The weight of her move settled over him like a cold blanket. The roots reached back to 1998, the night Andrew proposed to Lisa in her parents' living room. While her parents cheered, Karen stood in the corner, arms folded, her smile sharp as a blade.
You are really going to marry a man who spends his days analyzing crazy people.
She said it at the engagement dinner, loud enough for the whole table to go silent.
I should have defended myself. Instead, I smiled and let it pass, believing it was a con-time thing.
But it wasn't. Over the years, Karen turned every holiday into a theater of small humiliations.
She's just bitter, Andrew. She can't stand that we're happy.
Karen kept a mental ledger of every perceived slight. She never forgave Andrew for being loved. When the inheritance landed, her silent envy calcified into something far more dangerous. Now, with the summons in his hands, Andrew understood. She'd been laying the groundwork for decades. The inheritance had arrived 3 months earlier. A quiet letter from a lawyer's office informing Andrew of a trust. Dr. Harold Finch, his mentor, had left him $6 million, the result of a lifetime of wise investments.
Harold, you stubborn old fool. You knew I never expected this.
Andrew told no one except Lisa. But secrets have a way of seeping through the cracks of a small town. Within weeks, Karen heard it from a friend who worked at the county recorder's office. The moment she learned the amount, her eyes went flat.
$6 million. And he'll just fritter it away on coins and chessboards.
She bought a new notebook the next day. On the first page, she wrote, "Behaviors of concern." She recorded the times he called his former patients, the days he visited the coin shop, the hours he sat alone with a chessboard. Each entry was a stone she was stacking, building a wall between Andrew and the life he'd built. She never stopped writing. Not until the day she handed that notebook to her lawyer and said 3 words, "File it now." While Karen weaponized her notebook, Andrew lived his retirement with simple, quiet rhythm.
I know you are worried, but adjusting the dosage slightly should help with the sleep. Call me again next week.
He spent hours each week counseling former patients, never charging a dime, never letting go of the calling. His coin collection filled 3 mahogany cabinets, each tray labeled in his precise handwriting, with dates and mint marks.
People think it's about money. It's never about money. Each piece holds a story.
Every Thursday, he took a folding chair to the park, setting up his board across from whoever dared to sit.
Checkmate in 4. You are improving, Danny. Don't let your uncle off easy next time.
But in Karen's notebook, the phone calls became an inability to detach from his career. The coins became hoarding. Entry 47. 3-hour phone call with former patient. Refusal to let go of therapist role. Signs of obsessive behavior. Every kindness Andrew performed was twisted into pathology. Every joy reframed as sickness. And he never saw it coming. Andrew picked up the phone and dialed the number he'd had for 30 years. His longtime attorney, Martin, had retired a month earlier, gone to Europe, unreachable.
But he's handled my affairs for 3 decades. Who can I call?
The court had already assigned a replacement, a family law specialist named Jeffrey Holden, a name Andrew had never heard.
A stranger. The man who'll defend my sanity is a complete stranger.
Lisa walked in, saw the summons, and the color drained from her face.
Andrew, what is this? Please tell me it's not what I think.
Karen. She's filing to have me committed. She's been planning this for months.
Lisa's hand flew to her mouth. She'd never believed her sister capable of this. The court assigned Jeffrey Holden. Quiet, precise. Andrew had never heard of him. Neither, in the way that counted, had Karen. Andrew arrived at a narrow office tucked behind the courthouse, its shelves sagging with law books.
Dr. Walsh, I've reviewed the petition. Your sister-in-law has been thorough.
Thorough or obsessed. She's been compiling lies about me for months.
The legal distinction between lies and documented concerns is what we'll challenge. Tell me about your daily life.
Andrew described his routines, his patients, his collections, while Jeffrey listened without a single visible reaction.
He's not just listening, he's cataloging me, the way I used to catalog patients.
I'll need you to sign a representation agreement. Then we'll prepare for the hearing.
Andrew signed, his hand barely steady. As he rose, his eyes caught a photograph frame laid face down on the bookshelf.
Why would a man hide a photo unless the memory inside it was too painful to face?
Jeffrey didn't notice the glance, but something behind those calm eyes began to harden into purpose. 3 days later, a thick envelope arrived from the court. Karen's evidence had been filed. Inside, Lisa opened the envelope with trembling fingers. The motion for asset freeze was on top.
Andrew, they've frozen everything. The trust, the checking account, even the joint savings. We can't touch $1.
She's not just trying to take my freedom. She's trying to starve us out.
The preliminary hearing was set for 10 days away. A date circled in red on the wall calendar. Every tick of the clock seemed louder now. Andrew sat staring at the second hand, counting.
10 days. That's all I have left to prove I am not the monster she's painted me to be.
I'll call my mother. Maybe she can talk sense into Karen. This has to stop.
Your mother hasn't stood up to Karen in 40 years. Why would she start now?
Outside, the evening light faded. Inside, the walls seemed to close in around a man who had spent his life opening doors for others. Lisa drove to Karen's house without calling. She found her sister in the living room, a knowing smile already in place.
Drop the petition, Karen. This isn't protection. This is you finally winning.
Winning? Lisa, I'm trying to save you from a man who's slipping. Open your eyes.
He's the same man he's always been. You've twisted everything to justify your hatred.
Have you noticed the forgetting? The keys, the phone, the blank stares? This isn't Andrew anymore.
Karen's voice was soft, saturated with manufactured concern, and Lisa felt a crack form.
He does forget things. He gets lost in his thoughts. What if she's right?
I only want what's best for you. Let the court help him. You can finally rest.
Lisa stood up, her legs feeling foreign. She couldn't speak, afraid her voice would betray her. At home, she sat beside Andrew, but kept her hands in her lap. Karen's poison had found its mark. Andrew felt the distance before he saw it. Lisa barely looked at him now, her hands always busy with something else. He retreated to his study, pulling open the coin cabinet. The neat trays mocked him.
Is this what obsession looks like? 3 cabinets of metal discs that nobody else cares about.
He searched for his keys for 20 minutes, his heart pounding. They were in his coat pocket.
I never forget things. What's happening to me?
That night he lay awake, the clock ticking past 3.
Karen was right. I am slipping. I can feel it.
He stopped answering the phone. His patients' voices felt like accusations.
Maybe I should just surrender. Let them lock me away. It would be easier than fighting.
By morning, the man who had spent 40 years healing others had become his own most uncertain patient. That same morning, Jeffrey Holden sat in his office, staring at the face-down photograph. He unlocked a filing cabinet with a key he kept separate from all others and withdrew a worn manila folder. The label read, Whitfield Conservatorship, 2017. Inside were affidavits, a dismissal order, and a photograph of a much younger Karen testifying against her own mother.
She did it to her own mother. And now she's trying again.
He picked up his office phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in 9 years.
Evelyn, it's Jeffrey Holden. I need your help. She's doing it again.
After what she did to her mother, I promised myself I'd never stay silent again. I'll testify.
I've been waiting for this call, Jeffrey. Count me in.
By the time he hung up, the case that had once ended his marriage was now his most powerful weapon. That evening, Andrew found Lisa on the couch, a blanket pulled tight around her. She hadn't slept in their bed for 3 nights.
Andrew, I don't know what to say to you anymore. I feel like I am losing everyone.
Maybe you shouldn't say anything. Maybe there's nothing left to fight for.
The words hung between them like a verdict. Neither moved.
I love you, but I don't recognize the man you've become. You've given up.
Given up? I am trying to survive. And deep down, you've believed her over me.
Lisa's face crumpled. She had never heard that accusation from him, and it struck her somewhere true.
That's not fair. I never said I believed her. I am just scared of what might happen.
I might not fight the conservatorship. If it would end this pain, maybe it's best for everyone.
Lisa reached for his hand, but he pulled away and walked to the window, staring into the dark garden. The next morning, Jeffrey Holden arrived at Andrew's house unannounced. He carried no briefcase, only a quiet certainty.
Andrew, I know you are considering surrender, but I have found something. Something that will destroy Karen's case.
What is it? Evidence that she fabricated something?
I can't tell you yet. If I reveal the details, it could risk the entire strategy. You must trust me.
Trust a stranger with my entire life, based on a promise of something I can't see. This is insane.
I know what I am asking. But if you are willing to fight, I will bring everything I have into that courtroom.
Andrew stared at Jeffrey, seeing something he hadn't noticed before. Not just confidence, but the quiet rage of a man who had been wronged.
All right, I'll fight. I don't know what you have, but I believe you.
That's all I need. Prepare yourself. The hearing is in 5 days.
As Jeffrey left, Andrew felt a spark he hadn't felt in weeks, a fragile, desperate hope that someone else believed in him. Jeffrey dialed Dr. Miriam Holt, a forensic psychologist whose reputation was as sharp as her cross-examinations.
Dr. Holt, it's Jeffrey Holden. I need a psychological evaluation done immediately.
Jeffrey, it's been too long. What's the nature of the case?
A conservatorship petition, identical to the one Karen Whitfield filed against her mother 9 years ago.
I remember that case. I'll assess him tomorrow morning. You'll have my report by afternoon.
Within minutes, the evaluation was scheduled. Jeffrey then drove to Evelyn Price's home, where Arthur Klein already waited. They sat together, old wounds visible in their posture, ready to undo the lies they'd been forced to tell.
She told me to say my mother couldn't recognize me. It was all a lie to get the money. I'll never forgive myself.
I stayed quiet back then, but I won't let Karen destroy another life. I am ready to testify.
While Jeffrey secured his counter-evidence, Karen sat in her attorney's office, trimming her nails, utterly convinced the case was already won. The night before the hearing, the house fell silent. Andrew lay staring at the ceiling, his mind a storm. Lisa appeared in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the hall light. She didn't speak at first.
I couldn't sleep either, Andrew. I am so sorry.
For what? Being scared. I was scared too. But I am done letting her win.
I should have stood by you. I let her poison me. Can you forgive me?
Andrew reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining like they had 1,000 times before.
There's nothing to forgive. Just be with me tomorrow, no matter what.
I'll be there. I love you, Andrew. I always have.
She lay down beside him, and for the first time in weeks, they held each other in the dark. Outside, the first light of dawn began to creep over the garden, carrying with it the weight of the day to come. The courtroom was silent, except for the rustle of papers. Andrew sat rigid beside Jeffrey at the defendant's table. Every eye was on the bailiff as he called the hearing to order. Karen Whitfield rose from her seat, her silver hair immaculate, and walked to the stand as if accepting an award. She placed her hand on the Bible. The clerk swore her in, and she answered with a clear, practiced voice.
I am only here because I love my sister. Andrew needs help. He refuses to accept. He's a danger to himself. He calls former patients for hours, hoards coins obsessively, and sees patterns in chests that aren't there.
Each accusation was a polished bullet, fired with surgical precision. She'd rehearsed this for weeks. Andrew's hands remained clasped, so tightly that his fingers trembled. He never looked at Karen, only at a fixed point on the wall. Judge Patricia Coleman peered over her glasses, her pen moving steadily, betraying no reaction. In the gallery, Lisa sat frozen, her teeth pressed against her knuckles. Every word from her sister felt like a separate betrayal. When Karen stepped down, a smug smile flickered at the corner of her mouth. Jeffrey still hadn't moved. Jeffrey rose slowly, adjusting his cufflinks as if he had all the time in the world. The courtroom held its breath.
Mrs. Whitfield, you've described my client as obsessive and delusional. Would you say you've always been concerned about his behavior?
Absolutely. For years, I've watched him decline. It's been heartbreaking.
Then you must be very familiar with the conservatorship process. Have you ever been involved in a similar proceeding before?
Never. My only concern is Andrew.
What about your mother, Mrs. Whitfield? Didn't you file to have her conserved in 2017?
That was different. She was elderly, confused. I was protecting her.
Karen's composure cracked. Her hands gripped the rail, knuckles white. The judge set down her pen.
Protecting her, or protecting your access to her estate. The court dismissed that petition for lack of evidence, didn't it?
Karen's lawyer half rose, but she waved him off. Her answer came out in a whisper, and the entire room leaned forward to catch it. Jeffrey turned to the judge. Your Honor, the defense calls Evelyn Price. A frail woman rose from the gallery.
She told me to say my mother couldn't recognize me. It was all a lie to get the money. Karen coached me for hours. Promised to take care of my debts if I helped her.
Karen's face went white. Her attorney whispered urgently, but she didn't seem to hear. Jeffrey called his second witness. Arthur Klein walked to the stand with a heavy, deliberate step.
She offered me a stake in the estate. All I had to do was say her mother couldn't handle money. It was a lie. And when the case fell apart, Karen blamed us for not being convincing enough.
The judge stopped writing. Her eyes moved from Arthur to Karen, and the shift in the room was palpable.
No further questions, Your Honor. The pattern is clear.
A murmur swept through the gallery. Andrew sat frozen, but for the first time, his hands unclenched. Jeffrey called his final witness. Dr. Miriam Holt took the stand, her credentials a shield against any doubt.
Dr. Holt, did you evaluate my client independently? And what were your conclusions?
I conducted a full forensic assessment. Dr. Walsh is entirely competent, cognitively, emotionally, and functionally. The behaviors described are consistent with a retired psychiatrist maintaining healthy routines, not pathology.
Your Honor, I submit the 2017 case file as Exhibit A, proof of an identical, dismissed petition by the same petitioner.
The court will review it. Mrs. Whitfield, your objection is noted and overruled.
Karen stood, her face a mask of rage. The judge's gaze silenced her before she could speak.
This petition is dismissed with prejudice. The respondent is fully competent. This court will refer the petitioner for criminal fraud review.
Andrew's eyes closed. A single tear escaped, tracing a line through decades of quiet endurance. The gavel came down. The sound was not an ending. It was a correction. Karen shoved open the courtroom doors and strode into the corridor, her face a storm of fury and disbelief. The bailiff moved to restore order, But already the room was exhaling, years of tension releasing in whispers and stifled cries. Andrew rose on unsteady legs. Lisa ran to him, and they held each other as if the world had stopped spinning.
It's over. It's really over. I am so sorry I ever doubted you.
We're still here. That's all that matters now.
Jeffrey approached, the 2017 case file still in his hand. Andrew's eyes fell on the label, and understanding flooded him.
Karen was my ex-wife. I've been waiting 9 years for this moment to finally stop her from destroying another life.
Andrew extended his hand, but Jeffrey clasped it between both of his, the gesture more a vow than a handshake.
You didn't just save my freedom. You gave me back my sanity. Thank you.
Lisa turned to Jeffrey, and through her tears, she whispered something that made the reserved attorney crack a rare, genuine smile.
You gave us our lives back, Jeffrey. I don't know how to repay you.
No repayment necessary. Watching her face when the gavel fell was more than I ever hoped for.
Jeffrey nodded once, then turned and walked toward the judge's chambers. His duty complete, Andrew and Lisa stepped outside together. The evening sun warmed the courthouse steps, and for the first time in months, they breathed air that didn't feel borrowed. The drive home was quiet. Lisa's hand never left Andrew's. Their fingers were laced so tightly that the knuckles matched. Inside, the house waited for them unchanged. The same furniture, the same shadows, but somehow lighter now.
I almost surrendered, Lisa. I came so close to letting her win.
But you didn't. And neither did I. I fought through her poison, and I am right here. We're still standing.
Andrew peeled the crumpled summons from his pocket, the paper that had started it all, and placed it on the coffee table, face down. Tomorrow they would call the bank. The day after, they would clear the legal debris. Tonight, they simply sat together, their silence richer than any words. Morning light filled the kitchen. Lisa poured coffee into 2 mugs, a ritual they'd shared for 22 years.
Andrew, I've been thinking all night. What we almost lost. It made me realize something. We've been married for 2 decades, but I want to marry you again. Renew our vows, right here, right now.
After everything, you still want to say yes to me.
I've never said no to you, Andrew. And I never will.
Andrew set down his coffee and took her hands, the same hands he'd held on their first wedding day, now lined but no less certain.
Then let's do it. Not for the certificate, but for us.
They didn't need a church or an officiant. The living room became their sanctuary, the morning light their witness. Andrew looked at his wife, the woman who had almost lost faith, but found it again, and saw nothing but forever. The crumpled court summons still lay face down on the table behind them, already beginning to gather dust. A week passed. The legal holds lifted, the accounts unfrozen, the house settled back into the quiet rhythm that had been stolen from it.
I spent 40 years listening to the pain of others. I almost forgot how to hear my own voice.
He understood now that the trial had not just been about a court petition. It had been about him reclaiming the man Karen had tried to erase. Lisa found her way back to him, not because Karen was exposed, but because she finally saw her own blindness and chose to trust her husband again. They drank their coffee in the quiet of each other's company, a ritual that had survived the storm and come out stronger.
She tried to shatter me, but here I am, still whole, still me, still loved.
The paperwork of the conservatorship was stored in a drawer, never to be needed again except as proof of a battle won. Jeffrey had returned to his quiet practice, the 2017 file locked away once more, this time not as a wound, but as a trophy. Outside the window, the garden continued to grow, undisturbed by the ugliness that had tried to uproot it. She filed to lock him away, but Andrew Walsh was never meant to be caged.